skirt it.
These are repairs?
So
That takes time.
And then do the molding, same material.
Is this only
You're just
materials or
paying for the
labor
guy,
too?
right? Yeah, or just.
Only
these
materials.
part.
A couple, until my wife
Okay.
throws me out.
And this
Sooner
was-
than that.
That could happen.
This was
But no,
recent. So
yeah,
salt,
I'm
our
not
salt
going
trucks even, how many times have
Yeah, I
we
don't
salted
think we
it?
need
He sent the email out. Did you get it?
Yeah, I printed it.
The dates?
It's the last two
Yeah.
pages.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is, right in the back.
Unless
Yeah, so how
something
many,
disastrous
1,
happens.
2?
Yeah.
That many times?
Well, you can always go down.
So when we salt, Mark, do we salt the
Place down
whole
the
city
water.
or main roads, or how do we do
On
that?
vacation.
Are you gonna go around?
Just
You should
a
give us a
little-
rundown of the, I know we talked about it.
We started with the
in
workshop.
Okay.
and,
Buy one
welcome
down.
everyone, we're gonna do our special session to start,
Yeah,
before we
they
get to
come back
Mark
with
and
the
John.
seven.
Dan,
Which would be a
did
home
you-
run.
Did you, need a motion to go into special session?
Yeah, so I need a motion to go into special session.
I'll make that motion, we go into special session.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're in special session.
Okay, I need approval of the minutes of the regular session, December 4th, 2018.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Okay, I need a motion to bring forward, from the accountant, payment of the abstracted claims dated December 11th, 2018.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second. And we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, I need now, from the accountant, payment of the abstracted claims dated December 11th, 2018.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Can I have roll call on that, please?
Alderman Stylick,
Aye.
Pikeraro.
Aye.
Ruby. Aye. Ron.
Aye.
Zilker.
Aye. Motion carried.
Need a motion to adjourn the special session.
So moved. Second?
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're on session.
Okay, first on our agenda tonight is, Mark Zelman. You would like to discuss or recap, the street paving and kind of project the snow removal and good stuff
Yeah,
like
just
that.
wanted to go over what we paved and the cost associated with paving and salting and heavy pickup. Just to get an idea, of what everybody knows what the extra costs are, what it really costs to do things. I sent you guys an email today, if you all got it, with a paving per ward and what we did for the last 3 years. In 18, it was right around 15 miles of lane miles of road we paved. In 17, it was around 7 miles.
Mark, when that, I'm sorry to interject, but that means like 7.5 miles, right? Cause lane miles would just be like one way down the street and then the other way,
Yeah,
right? So you really split it in half for the actual amount of miles.
yeah, but it's always, we always
Okay.
have kept
I-
it in lane miles.
I just wanted to confirm it.
Yeah.
Mark, did you find that this year was easier because of the equipment, the equipment purchase?
Yeah, the
Assisted you
paving
in a great
machine,
deal, the paving machine?
the paving machine really
Yeah.
helped.
Yeah, it looked really good before, when you were using it, and that's what I thought it would be very helpful for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if other municipalities start to try to copy that so we can get more done.
Yeah, and the road zipper and the mini paver we bought helped a lot for patching.
Sure, sure.
We, how many tons was it for patching?
1,142.
So we laid down about 500 tandem loads of blacktop just on patching streets with a road zipper, just different areas. And there's always added costs, like the tack coat is $16,000 a year, or this year we spent just on tack coat. And $35,000 we had to put into roads for the manhole risers and the new sewer grates when we have to repave to keep them leveled off.
Yeah.
And as we do that, it'll be easier for sweeping Because in the past, all the sewer grates were always 4 or 5 inches down,
Lower.
and that's where all the leaves and everything would collect.
So what's the, can you give us like a day by day, like what happens? So it starts snowing at like midnight, right, really hard. But what
Give me
happens?
1 minute and look at.
Okay, alright, I didn't
Still
know,
on-
you had a
still on
long
baby.
pause, he had a
Still
long
on-
pause.
still on
in the
baby.
summertime.
Your pauses throw me off, Mark, so sorry about that.
And this year we had, it's always had to be done, I don't know if it was done much in the past, but we have to put ADA compliant wraps in on all money we get from chips from the state for, so this year we did 53 ADA sidewalk ramps.
Did part of that money also come out of our pedestrian sidewalk program grant?
No,
It didn't, okay, cause that was a big key part of the ADA accessibility also.
yeah, I think that grant is gonna be for downtown.
Mhm.
And I think they'll be putting the handicap
Yeah.
ramps out of
Right.
that grant.
It is, yes,
That's the one you're talking about, right, the one that's state funded, that we?
yes.
Yeah, that one will be downtown specifically.
And, we did all these in-house, all the ADA compliant.
And that's through the chip money, is that?
We use road resurfacing money for the concrete to do it.
Okay.
So we would, so we could get the CHIPS money.
Okay.
CHIPS, what are the requirements for CHIPS? Where can that go towards? Just roads or sidewalks also?
Just
or
roads.
Just
You have to
roads?
pave a whole road from intersection to intersection, all the way across, the whole width of the road.
Okay,
And it's gotta go intersection, intersection, and that is covered under CHIPS.
oh, okay.
And unfortunately for the sidewalks this year, our contractor stiffed us and never showed up, which he did, I believe, to the town of Tonawanda and Kenmore also.
Luke, can we do anything with the bridge?
Yeah, Mark dropped off the bond, so Nick and I have been going over that, so we can know in the next couple of days how we can proceed with that.
Help 'em.
Thank you.
The other thing is that we need to know so that we can blacklist him, so that we never hire him back again.
Well, the problem is with him is, he was probably our best one we've ever had. This year he
But he let us down.
yeah, but usually they do that to all the towns, and this year the winter came so quick that usually they would come in October, November and just throw it in, but
Right.
I wanna talk to Luke about it for next year
Okay.
when we put the bid out. I wanna put a date it's gotta be done on.
Yeah.
But we gotta be careful doing that, because if we do that,
We'll raise
the
the
price might go up. So but this year I wanna get the bid out in January, February, we can get them the list by March.
Yeah.
And they could start it right away.
You bet.
With the transition from Brad to me last year was a little behind, and
Sure.
that slowed us up too, so. But I kinda did a rough estimate on all the sidewalk complaints we have right now.
There's a lot.
And to fix all them with the price we had in the contract this year, we could do for somewhere around $93,000.
Now, those complaints have been validated that they are a city issue and not a resident issue?
Yes, most of them.
Okay,
We
all
would,
right.
we would go back out and make sure of that.
Okay, all right,
This is I just wanted to get a rough estimate
right,
of
sure,
how many are out there.
sure.
But we've only budgeted 50,000, right, for sidewalk repairs,
I believe that's gonna be bonded.
right? How much, what are we bonding, like 300 or 350 for roads and sidewalks? We're bonding all the amount that the city's supplying for roads and or sidewalks, aren't we? And the rest is just coming through CHIPS? I believe, right, Dan?
Yeah, that's how we usually do it.
So we're not actually taking any of our own money and investing it into roads and sidewalks.
Where would you like to take it from?
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, so we're just, hopefully they last 10 years past that interest rate, right?
I think the last couple of years, last year was the only year we haven't bonded.
Yeah. Yeah, right, that was good. Okay,
And that's was a suggestion I was gonna have, maybe if we put 325 in the roads and 75 in the sidewalk.
Yeah, we
For
paid
the bond.
75,000 before a couple times.
And we could get caught up pretty good and then we could do a bunch in-house and maybe get them all cleaned up for that.
You know, in the past, what we've also done with the sidewalk, is that we, if a resident wants to use that price, that they could also, you know, dovetail on the, tail end of our program, so that they can get sidewalks, taken care of that would not normally be fixed in the,
Yeah,
through the city
they
program.
do that a lot of times they'll come up and see
If
the
we could
contractor.
see if we could do that without, you know, raising the cost on us, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, they do that a lot. with
Okay.
the-
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll be on the street and they'll
Yeah.
see them and they'll pay them to do
Yeah,
a
sure.
little piece.
Like you're saying, almost subsidize the cost for them to.
Not
get-
subsidized, but it gives them a discount because
Right,
it gives
they're
them
already out there.
bulk rate.
Actually, to
price
be honest,
versus,
you might
Good
be able to
idea.
get just a little piece
Yeah.
like done
Yeah.
cheaper.
Right.
The reason the price is what it is that's about average price, but it's a little bit up because they gotta deal with all the roots for the trees and
Yeah.
it's not a real, they're not going in and pouring a driveway where you get 500 square feet, you're talking 50, 60 square feet, so
Sure.
they're taking roots out.
Sure. Well, yeah, when I redid my driveway, they wanted to do my entire sidewalk, and I said, no, just a couple blocks, please.
So now we're to snow removal laws.
Oh, okay. So, what do you got? What's our process?
Well, when it starts snowing, we go out salting and send usually 3 trucks out salting. And salt till it's, everybody, we always get complaints, well, you salted before you plowed, but we have to get the salt on the roads or it's just gonna hard pack on the road. So you gotta get salt down first. Sometimes it might seem like we're plowing it right up, but that plow is not gonna scrape the whole, the
All the
salt's
salt
gonna
off,
stick
yeah.
behind.
So usually 3 guys salt and then
And
Do
then
you
when
have-
we have a plow crew out, it's
it's
like 25 guys.
25 guys to plow, really? At a time?
Yeah,
Wow.
we got
That's
4, we
110
got,
lane miles.
What's that?
It's 110 lane miles, isn't it?
yeah. We're shooting for 4 hours to get through the city in a plow run. Friday morning when we were out, we were down a couple trucks and we got it done in 5 hours.
One of the things you could tell them too is, we had a conversation when I went over to your headquarters there, and you guys have got some more advanced plow blades that will minimize the amount of salting that we need to do, because it's got what, carbide tips on the plow blade?
Yeah, I have some
Where
pictures
it'll
of it.
actually
Yeah.
help break up the, ice.
We're trying every day, trying to find new ways to, the problem is the hard pack, if we don't get, if it snows at rush hour and you get traffic on it, it hard packs to the ground and it takes us. People say we haven't been down plowing, well, we come down plowing, it just doesn't do anything. So we purchased 2 of these plows, but they're called salt saver plows. It's a 2-stage plow. That the front plow goes over and gets the big stuff off, and behind it, it's almost like a York rake, and it's air actuated to hold it to the road. So hopefully it's gonna pull the hard pack up and we get a lot less salt that way.
The other thing too, Mark, is salting doesn't work in low temperatures either. I know I get a lot of requests from some residents to salt their street, but it's maybe 10 degrees and they're really not gonna see much of a benefit. May do some traction, but it's not gonna melt the ice, correct?
It will, we spray it with an additive,
Yeah.
which it brings it down some, but then even we gotta get the salt on, and once daytime comes and the traffic hits it, the salt will work, but it won't work in the middle of the night with no traffic on it. Once the traffic and the friction get on it.
Yep.
It starts to,
So the salt works, what, 0 degrees is it? Is that the, I think,
It's like 25 where the salt works, and then
Really?
we can get it down to like 10.
with the, what is it,
With the-
salt, I forgot, the giant.
They call it
bag.
magic, on
Magic.
the, it's,
I think if you drink it, it's not magic, but
Yeah.
yeah. Magic.
but I sent you the email about, we've been out salting this year. Eight times, and we've been out salting and plowing 5 times, so 13 times. And salt now is just as expensive, if not more expensive than blacktop. We're at $55 a ton for salt. So we've already gone through approximately $70,000 in salt already this year. And there's not just like tonight, we hold off tonight till we have to go out on nights like tonight, because if we went out tonight, we could use, 300 ton of salt at $50 a ton, it adds up quick.
Yep, sure does.
In the past, years ago, we would only salt the intersections, but I don't think right now that the residents would be happy with that. It's one way we could cut back on salt, but I don't,
Well, I mean, do we do just main roads, or
we do the whole city when we do
Bill, so is that a way too, where we just do main roads and intersections, or,
it.
right?
There would be a way, I don't know if that would be okay with all you and the residents.
I'm just asking, cause, I mean, well,
You
you,
know, we don't pick winners and losers, we're all winners.
that, I don't know if that's so relevant, but if we're just,
Of course it is,
If-
no, if you
we used to just do
decide
intersections.
what roads you're gonna pave, you're picking winners.
Well, aren't the winners the main ones, so like people
You
leave
always
their
salt
little,
the first, the
No.
first ones you salt are the main streets.
Yeah, we
And
salt
then
the mains and then-
secondary ones. are
and then you
ones
do
go
the
next.
secondary,
Yeah.
okay.
And once you salt those main ones, you know that you have residents calling up that are on the secondary ones that are,
Yeah.
where's the salt on my street? So I don't know how you can pick not to salt.
And there's
Absolutely.
times when I look, people will say, well, I hear it all the time, they haven't been down my street all year plowing, but we have, of course, but
Mhm.
if it starts snowing at 1 in the afternoon and you get rush hour traffic on, we can't plow it off, it gets hard packed so bad that it takes us a day or two to get it off.
Yeah.
Because we go around at night and plow, it's frozen back up, and then during the day it loosens up, it looks like we weren't there. That's why I'm hoping these new
I think that's a good
plows.
investment.
It is.
And, we had enough money in our budget this year to buy 3, for our older trucks, we had bought three other new plows that will scrape off at speed. They're not this advanced, but they're better than ones we had with holes in them and rotting off the truck.
Did we only salt until the end of January last year?
No,
Oh, okay, we just,
next column.
Also April.
oh,
I think we salted till the latest I ever remember salting.
is April? I think it snowed in May a few years ago, didn't it?
Years ago, but I don't think
Yeah,
we
there's
salted.
years and years.
April.
Okay, what did we budget for salting?
320,000, I believe.
So we've already, oh. Oh,
Well, this money is all out of this year.
This year.
That's just
okay, right.
Right.
November.
I think we did it last meeting, we transferred money for salt.
Mhm. 2019.
To figure, every time one of them salters goes out with a load of salt, it's around $800 per load to lay it on the road. Every truck,
And we have 3 at a time, right? So,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I think that definitely the efficiency's starting to show in, some of the, in the paving and the plowing. You know, it's unfortunate unfortunate with the sidewalk situation, but I think we can definitely catch up with that. I know we try to prioritize our lists, you know, and when we get calls, as far as, you know, what's gotta be done. But if we can get it done earlier, this year, like you said, have a drop dead date, where, you know, it's not after August. I mean, I've always been the mindset as an alderman that, you know, you're gonna walk these sidewalks in the summer and the spring. To come out in the fall and with the temperatures, I know we're getting a cheaper price, but it's just, you know, they're not being used as much then. So we're kind of not catching up with that. You know, we're kind of taking some risks by leaving it, you know, until October. I know Brad always wanted to do October, but, you know, if we can do it in the late spring or even do some in-house and then have the contractor come in and do it again.
Yeah, we haven't really been using the grout pump for
Yeah, I was gonna ask you.
for sidewalks, because we found it worked. We did it in front of City Hall and it worked great, because there was no trees. But as soon as there's trees and roots under it, what we found, it leaves too much of a void under there, and the grout just, you have to pump too much grout, and then it lets it travel to the other side, and then it'll raise the other side of the sidewalk. But it works good. We did it down in front of City Hall and it worked great.
Yeah.
So what we've been doing is lifting the blocks out, some of them where we can, and cutting the roots with a saw out, and then setting them back in. That's been working too. And just to, little information for every time we go out plowing in manpower, it's about $7,500 in overtime.
Every time we go, people plow, it's
Off
7
hours,
off hours,
overtime hours.
okay. What are off hours then?
Right now I put a midnight shift on, so
That's off
with
hours.
3 guys, so we could save a little there, but.
Okay.
Any, between 3 in the afternoon and 7 in the morning if we plow, that's what it would cost.
Are people ever on call? You
They're
know,
always on call.
Good.
They don't get.
it's not
paid.
like they're sleeping and we call them and then they go out, or they do.
Yeah.
That's what the off hours are then?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like we have 3 guys hanging out in the,
They do either wash the trucks, get them ready for next time, patching.
okay, so there's other stuff they're working on, okay. Okay,
And this didn't make the email, but, I got a cost of, to get the plow trucks and the salt trucks and loader ready for winter time. That, all the repairs we needed came to about $45,000 just since August 1st.
How much was it?
44,722. That's why we asked for new vehicles in the budget, not just because we're looking to drive around in nice things we want.
So you don't have to deal with the repair costs.
Yeah,
Mm.
and that's just the parts cost, that's not the labor and.
Yeah.
Here's another copy.
Well, the more you put into that, less likely it is to come off the road.
Yeah, and
Or breakdown.
it's just, we owe it to the citizens to have them ready for the year. I know years past, sometimes they weren't ready and we were down 3 or 4 trucks to plow, we didn't have them. Any questions? And then I just made a little analysis for what we're gonna have to start thinking about for next year to lower our costs for bulk pickup. We spend about average $120,000 a year just on bulk pickup, just getting rid of, not the labor or anything, just disposing of the,
Disposing of the bulk pickup.
What was that number again, Mark?
120,000. $120,000.
Yeah, you guys got this sheet, too.
So you said you have solutions?
I think that might be another meeting once, right after the first of the year, we should sit down and start thinking about, talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And one suggestion I have is our biggest problem is absentee landlords and landlords that the rest of the city is subsidizing them having tenants move out every month or every other month and us picking up the whole apartment.
Right.
I've seen them out on the streets.
Yeah.
That doesn't.
And that's probably
Yeah.
75% of our bulk pickup is
Mattresses and
Mhm.
old furniture.
whole move outs
Yeah,
and
yeah.
or body shops downtown on Main Street, saving up all their bumpers and fenders and seats for us to dispose of, which is, when the bulk pickup first started, it was meant to, you could put out a couch or a chair or something like that, not a whole terrace,
Right.
not go out and clean the whole garage out and put it out in front.
Sure.
Yeah,
Or throw it out the second story window towards the terrace.
you've seen that, right? Yeah.
It's interesting that the 2018, even though we, looks like the weight of what you had to do was less than the other 2 years, almost,
That doesn't have the December one on it, so it will come back to about the same price.
So what are some suggestions in regards to tenants or maybe commercial buildings then? Are you saying you want to maybe charge them a fee?
Or not pick it up for them, I don't know if that's legal or not. or-
Well, I think if it was between the two, you'd wanna give them an option where they could get picked up at least, but I don't know.
I
Did
think
Night
it's
Falls
worth it.
just do a
Make
fee or
payments.
something?
Every time a tenant
I've looked up
puts it
all,
out, I mean,
I've looked up a lot of the surrounding communities, and they have about the same rules as we have,
Oh, okay.
but I gotta get time, I'm gonna talk to the superintendents in them towns to see
Mhm.
what kind of enforcement they have. Whether they enforce their rules or here, like we don't really enforce them. That all started years ago when we first started this. We'd enforce the rules all day, tag everything, and then previous administrations, but the mayor would call us, and I was on second shift at the time, we would just go out and pick it all up then on the second shift because the people would call and complain.
call and complain.
So then that snowballed and it just got out of hand now.
Yeah, I thought we talked about like people, like first offenders, if you had the ability to keep track of them and then find them if they continue to just put garbage out that was too big or too soon or too late or so on.
Yeah,
Right.
that's great on paper, but to have someone with enough time to go do
To
that.
do it, yeah, it would be like training everyone to fix out bulk almost, so.
you know,
well, we appreciate it, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank you
for
for
giving
coming
us
in.
all the information.
I don't know how many trees we have to do, but this year we cut down approximately 160 trees.
Okay.
Trimmed 275 trees. And did ground about 120 stumps and filled in with dirt. With we have one tree crew of 4 guys.
Well, I'll tell you, that's the most that I've seen done since I've been up here. It was like, Eric can attest to it, it was like pulling teeth sometimes to get it done. And whoever your crew is, they've done a great job,
That's one thing I gotta say is the guys there have been
yeah.
unbelievably good
Yeah.
as of the last couple of years.
I heard the morale is up, which is good,
Yeah.
so.
Well, and that resonates onto the residents, because you're getting more compliments than complaints, I told you that over the summer.
Which means we're getting less complaints,
Yeah.
so we like you for that, but.
Mark, the chart there? Yeah, that's a map of the previous 3 years of paving we did.
Exciting. That's great.
I'll leave that down in the mayor's office.
What do we now?
I can email it to
Can you?
you and then Dan can put it on the
Put it on the
website.
news
Yeah.
portal.
Yeah.
News for it.
Sorry.
I'll email it to all you guys tomorrow.
Great, that's great,
Good job.
good work.
Any other questions for Mark?
No, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Mark.
Mark.
Good.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
And John, thank you. Mark just did most of the talking, so, you know.
John's here from Ross.
That's right. Good. Okay,
We have Alex here, Director of Youth Recreation Affairs, to discuss the proposed fee schedule for 2019.
Does anyone need a copy?
you know, it's in the-
You got another one? Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Alex, you got another one,
Sure do. So basically, not that I want to raise prices, but I think part of my job is to report how we're operating as a department and some of the deficiencies as far as what we spend and what we take in for certain programs. So when I took over in August, one of the things I did was I broke down every program and looked into what we spent from aspects of equipment to personnel, and reflected that with what we take in for the program as a city. Normally for a municipal program, you want to be around somewhere between 60 and 70% of recouping the cost of what you're doing. And a lot of our programs are in like the 40s and 50s. I mean, that's great for the residents, and trust me, like I don't want to raise the rates, and I'm not telling you we need to. I'm just letting you know where we are as a department, and you guys can make that choice. But the rates that are on there, specifically in regards to some of the youth things and some of the adult programs, would reflect an accurate price for what we normally spend to get us close to that 60 to 70% recouping of the recovery cost of our programs. In regards to the golf course, I know you'll hear some complaints.
Yeah, I've heard a few actually, so.
And to be honest with you, you raise anything $1 and you will hear complaints. People want it the way it is, but people need to understand the aspect of the fact that gas prices go up every year. The fact that our seasonal prices go up every year. In 2015, we were, for a step one laborer at the golf course or anywhere in our recreation department, they were making $8 an hour. And in 2019, coming up, they'll be making $11.10. So just seasonals alone, a lot of our programs, including the golf course where we have over 40 seasonal people working, that's a huge part of how we do business. So when just the cost of minimum wage going up and us trying to catch up to that, if we keep our prices the same, that recovery cost is actually going to go down even further. So the thing that I've been talking with in regards to the golf course, because I'm going to assume that's where you're going to hear the most complaints from our golfers, is the fact that the daily rates really have not gone up since, according to my records, 2009. It's been the same. So we're increasing $1 for a 9-hole round or $1 for an 18-hole round for residents, and then $2 for non-residents. And I think that's fair, considering the fact that, like I just said, some of the things how the prices have changed over the course of 6 or 7 years, that we're not reflecting costs to recoup some of that, then it's kind of silly on my,
And we're pretty comparable, right, Alex? as far
Yeah,
as-
so the other thing I did, and I thought you might want this, and it's, it wouldn't be bad to let the public understand this too, is I made a comparison for a lot of our programs, and I think that's all it's down. Some of our local municipalities that surround us, Wheatfield, Town of Tonawanda, City of Tonawanda, Lockport, Amherst, Buffalo. some of them offer similar programs, some of them don't, so you'll see, that comparison chart there. With the new prices that, I'm proposing, they still fall within, a competitive, if not still lower than most of the other municipalities. And I will say that a lot of our programs are better, especially our youth programs, and I'm only saying that because I've run that program for the past 10 years, so I know the ins and outs of those programs specifically. I know that what we offer, whether it's a basketball program or a football program, our seasons are longer. They're more in-depth, our staff is better, and I don't really think it's a bias thing because I've seen how other programs do, and this is the words I hear from parents that are in our programs as far as the youth programs. They're always like, I can't believe that it's only $20 to play basketball and they're playing from November all the way up through April. So, the one thing that I did talk about, and again, it's not my goal to price anybody out, is working with our youth board to create a scholarship fund for people who are low income. And right now we do like a high school scholarship for seniors graduating. We give out like $1,500 a year, and we're talking about doing funds to have monies available for people to apply for program scholarships. And then they fill out an application as they would as part of their registration. And, if they meet certain qualifications, income-wise, we can cover the cost of their program. So essentially, we're still giving those programs out because I don't think any kid should be denied a program because they can't afford it. So, I don't know if you have any questions, but the breakdown for everything is on there.
Alex, the people rave about the golf course. They really like it, and especially residents in North Tonawanda like the fact that the Deerwood is a revenue generator. It's a very competitive golf course, and they like it. But what they tell me was, at times it seems like when they're playing in leagues, that their leagues get pushed out of competition or whatever. So whatever you can do to keep those leagues in
Yeah.
play would be very beneficial for us.
A complaint that I got was, we're kicking a league of like 24 women, which I'm told is the only women's league that we have. And they've been around for 6 years, and to me, that's consistent revenue. That we can say we're giving,
And the residents.
and there's 14 residents on there.
Yeah, so, and you gotta know it, because people can tell you two different,
So tell us.
So, I sat down with Bob, our golf supervisor, and we started discussing the golf course and how it operates. And if you're not in a league and you like to golf, you know that it's very frustrating that you can, for a golf course that has 27 holes, you could walk out there Monday through Thursday and be denied golf for an hour, or you can't even golf 18 because we're so saturated with league play. Now, on one hand, that's awesome because that's automatic revenue, and that's great. But we are also a municipal golf course. We have to remember that there's, out of the X number of leagues we have and there's so many people in there, there's still how many other people that aren't in leagues that want to golf that are denied that right to golf because we've oversaturated our course with league play. There's nothing wrong with that, having league play and that guaranteed money, but like I said, it's basically you're creating a system of a golf course where it's kind of like a membership club where if you're not in a league, go somewhere else because unless you're going to golf on a Friday or a Sunday.
So do we turn people away? Or?
Well, generally they'll come on and Monday through Thursday, if you want to golf 18, that's pretty much impossible because leagues start and usually go through usually the last tee times around 5:40, and so you can golf 9 sometimes, or you have to wait. If you talk to any golfer with a 27-hole course, like to walk on either with a reservation or without a reservation, we told you have to wait 40 minutes for an open spot. That's kind of crazy considering we have so many holes. Most golf courses only have 18 holes. So we're trying to look at the big picture and say, yeah, there's going to be some leagues that are going to be angry, and we haven't denied them and kicked anyone out. I've talked to Bob Kenya, who's our golf supervisor, and he knows the ins and outs of everything. He's been there for 19 years working at the golf course, and I said, let's give them options if we have to. So for the ladies group, they wanted X number of time slots, and they were given options to go golf on a different day or to offer an abbreviated schedule where they can have those time slots, but the problem is the later time slot, let's say 6 o'clock, when you get to either early spring when the day isn't as long, or late fall when the day isn't as long, they're not getting their last groups out because the daylight's running out. So they're saying you can have your time slots, the same time slots you had last year, but it's an abbreviated schedule, so you'll start later and you'll finish earlier, and then the price would reflect that, so.
So you said one of the options was giving them a different day.
Yes.
It
Right
was-
now, we don't have, yeah, and we don't have any leagues on Fridays, for some reason, nobody ever wants to
And so
go to
they
a
had
league on Friday.
the option. to
But
go
Monday
on
through
Friday.
Thursday are pretty packed, and we've looked at juggling things and opening up a dedicated 9 holes to walk-ons and reservations, so people wouldn't be denied the opportunity to golf with if they're not in a tournament or a league.
So, but walk-ons could come Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, and well, and the other thing is, we're the only golf course that I know of, and when we talk to the reservation system that we work with and we deal with, we actually have leagues that golf during primetime golfing time on Saturdays, and no one ever gives out primetime golfing time to leagues, because that's prime time for, Saturday early mornings, that's when people wanna get out and golf, and we actually have leagues playing on Saturday mornings during prime time. And yeah, some of them are paying golfers, some of them have passes, some of them are non-residents, but a lot of the people that golf in the leagues, you have to keep in mind too, and I don't have the exact figures on it, they're people who have passes, so they bought a season pass for $400, so they're not, outside of that $480, they're not paying every time they go there, it's just that money that we got.
Well, do some people only buy the pass and only go once a week?
Yeah, so if you're gonna buy the pass, the pass is actually,
Is it cheaper than doing it every time anyways?
the pass is made so that if you go 32 times in a year, you've broken even or made your money back.
But the league's generally 15 to 20 weeks, so 15 to 20 times, though, right?
Yeah, so if you're golfing twice a week, you've been making your money back by August.
Oh.
And our golfing times through usually January, mid-October, is weather's good.
So is it just one league that is getting pushed?
No, every league is being adjusted here and there. We've shuffled every league around. We're not nitpicking on anyone. Everyone's been offered some sort of concession.
What were
But
the
we're
other-
trying to condense the way things are, because right now the leagues were spread out over all the holes. And we're trying to condense it so there's an open 9 dedicated to walk-ons and people who can make reservations for that. So,
Okay. I mean,
basically what you gotta look at is, how do you wanna run your golf course? Let's get as much money as we can and do it from a business aspect, or are we gonna, it's a service for the public, they pay taxes to play there, and if I like to golf, but if I can't get out on a golf course, I'm gonna get, ticked off too, because 4 days a week there's leagues, and if I'm not available to golf on the 1 or 2 days where I could make a reservation or walk on, then we have to decide how we wanna run the golf course. It's kind of, in essence, we're trying to make a small group of people happy for a dedicated revenue that we know we're gonna get, and keep this big chunk of people unhappy. And it's to the point now where people just know that they can't get on, so they don't even try anymore. They'll go somewhere
and
else,
that's part of
Brighton or
my
Sheridan.
fear, that we change the rules and they already have the perception that,
Well, and what you will probably see is it'll take probably a year, but word will get around, and we're gonna actually do a little bit of publicizing and with the model giving the golf course back to the public, and we're gonna try and make that more of a thing that people understand, so people will know going into this golfing season. But I'm not naive to think that there might be a lull in our finances this year, but I can guarantee by 2020, if we stay with this system, that we'd be making out that money and possibly making more money, because we're getting new faces, more walk-ons, and we're not getting just those people who bought passes. And actually, more people might be inclined to buy either season passes or resident passes, because they know they'll be able to use the course more, because it's not monopolized by tournaments and leagues all the time.
Are we gonna do more with the, like radio promos and some of those, things, I guess, that really, you mentioned to me that, seem to pull in new people?
Yeah,
They
I
don't-
mean,
they don't
we could definitely
necessarily
consider
say-
that. I know
yeah.
that they tried it before, and it depends, at the time they were doing that, Keith Moreno was running the golf course.
Yeah.
And it did, we brought in a lot of new people, but
We gotta keep 'em.
there's no guarantee that those people are coming back. And what they're golfing for was pennies on the dollar of what it normally costs, so I think Patty had decided that it wasn't worthwhile. But I think that promoting your golf course, and whether it's, with certain promotions, I think doing it smartly, it's always good to advertise and show people what
Especially
you
if
have,
we're competitively priced.
for sure.
Alex, can you touch a little bit on the repairs that have been started and what was done last year, what's to be done in the coming year?
Yeah,
To address
so,
a few of the concerns of some of the people.
yeah, I know a big thing with conditioning the golf course is a lot of people were talking about it not being up to par as it was in
Is
the
that a
past
pun?
last year.
Did you just make a
I guess
pun?
without knowing
I
it,
love
yeah.
puns. Catch the puns.
So I talked to Steve, and I know he was battling I think it was called silver dollar. It's like a greens disease that kind of demolishes your greens, and so I know our greens weren't as good as they have been in the past, but they should be back better than ever coming next year. The money that was put in coming into this year was for sand bunkers to replace all the sand bunkers with new sand. And money for an irrigation system. Now it's kind of, I don't wanna say deceiving, but it's not that the below ground plumbing, you hear irrigation, that's what you think the whole system, it's just for the sprinkler heads and for the satellite systems, because right now we have a full-time worker who works nights, and he literally will drive around the course and turn on certain heads and turn off certain heads because it's all manual. The idea of the irrigation system was it would be all automated. Every sprinkler head, I believe there's like 500 sprinkler heads throughout the whole course. They would get new heads and they would talk to these satellite systems, and you could just control it from a main computer system. So our mechanic, who's the guy who works nights, could be doing either course improvements, working on machines instead of spending 3 hours driving around from hole to hole, switching out stuff and watering. So that money for the irrigation system was meant for that.
Is that done?
That is a process that is gonna take quite a bit of work, because you have to dig up each sprinkler head, replace each head, and then they have to put the satellite systems in. So I believe that when I talked to Steve and Jake, who are our golf guys, when they pitched that to you, that they made that understood that it wasn't gonna be, although the finances would come in this year, that it wouldn't be something that you would tangibly see right away, because that's a longer process. Could have been done faster if you outsource it, but outsourcing it would cost a lot more money. So that's where we are. Sand bunkers, 18 of the 27 holes have been, the sand bunkers have been done. Fawn is the last bunker that has to be done, and that has the most sand bunkers actually, and there's some drainage issues, so there's a lot of work that's gotta be done with Fawn that they're gonna start tackling in the spring.
Because there's been a few people, we haven't had a lot of complaints.
No,
We've had
I,
a few
trust me,
concerns.
I golf and I have a lot of golfing friends, and
I
I've
think
heard
it
some
needs to be
things too.
pointed out too, that when they compare to a private country club or something like this, they also, if they were to go there, are gonna pay a lot more, because for the type of maintenance that they have.
And I will make you just aware of the fact that, from the outsiders looking in, you see the money we spent on quote-unquote irrigation for the sprinkler head and the satellite system. But that's not touching the underground plumbing, which is who knows how old.
Right.
So, something can happen with that, and that's a huge, huge, huge price tag on that stuff, so.
Is it PVC pipe or what is it on there? We don't even know.
I couldn't even tell you.
Olden.
I just know it's probably the original from when the golf course opened up.
I think the structure on the golf course
Yeah.
too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
You guys have any other questions for Alex?
No, we can-
Thank you for the ice skating.
Alex, you got anything
Mm-hmm.
additional?
Good.
Yeah, when's the ice rink done?
It's done, we're just waiting for it to freeze. We had
When's it cold enough?
3 or 4 people go on it, even though it was closed, and put holes in it right
Yeah.
now.
Did you
So,
post
We were
in
worried
your,
about that.
so,
not to go on
There's
it?
signs though.
there are
Some
signs.
people don't know how to read
Well,
English.
that's
I don't know.
unfortunate.
Yeah, we gotta
We're
adjust
gonna run
that.
into.
So how bad was the damage? That's what I was worried about. When I saw that notice about, if you go on it, you're gonna ruin it. But
Yeah, I mean, the puncture to the ice isn't bad, it's when
it's through the line.
their skates go through the liner. It looked more like people were testing it out to see if it was solid enough, and they
Fell through.
put a foot right through it, so. But people
Yeah,
are
nice
excited,
things.
so
Yeah,
They are.
great, good stuff,
my goal is to have a couple up next year too.
Oh,
great, good job, Alex. All right.
I'm all set.
Okay.
My release, or do you want me
I,
to?
yeah, if you wanna, yeah, whatever you wanna do.
Well, I don't know if any
Live your
public
life.
is gonna have questions if you want me to
Oh,
stick
they're
around.
not allowed to speak at workshop
Oh,
meetings,
man.
so, yeah, I
Oh,
know,
you
they're,
have
they're
a
in the
lot of
hot seat.
questions.
you know,
Alright,
they
well,
can't go
they
near
know where
it.
to find me.
Yeah, are you gonna be at the next council meeting?
I will,
Okay,
I will.
so there you
I'll be
go.
there.
That'll be the hot seat.
Alright.
You think this is tough?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
Thanks, Al.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Alex.
I don't know. Can you walk out?
Thank you.
Done?
Bye, guys.
Luke's done.
Hey guys, it's time any general items, I know Austin, you had something. Bring up.
Yeah, I mean, Luke needs to be in the discussion. So Luke and I just met up quick last week to talk about that attendance resolution. And Luke went over sort of how it would have to be split, right? Because there's two differences of it. There's an elected piece of it and then there's an appointed. So the elected would be a part of a charter revision. And then the appointed would be part of just the general
Good to be able, so,
code.
yeah, depending on how the person is, put in place in that position, it has to be done two different ways. If you're appointed, you would simply do a local law, or a code revision. If it's an elected position, it would have to be through a charter revision, because the charter dictates, and the charter also touches on discipline already.
And then that would have to be voted on. wouldn't
So
it?
that would have to go, there's a couple ways to do it, but the most common way to do it is through a referendum. I think for the appointed positions, for the boards, it's a good idea, cause in the past we have had attendance issues. So I think that's definitely a good idea for the boards.
And would
The
this-
elected ones are a little different, because
Still have it.
one, it would have to start after the current terms, so it'd have to be put in place for the next terms, cause you're essentially changing not the powers, but, you're changing that position, so it would have to be planned for the next set of terms. Like I said, it had to be a charter revision, and then it's a lot of it is based on court decisions as far as what is a dereliction of duty. And I gave Austin an article that I got from NICOM, which discusses it in length. And there's some examples, people miss 15 meetings in a year, and the court says that's not a dereliction, but then they do 27 meetings, and that's a dereliction. So
Subjective
it's
sort of.
very subjective, a lot of it comes down to court interpretation. So that, I think the elected portion of it is gonna be need a lot more discussion.
Yeah.
Just to make sure it's done right, and it's not something that can be overturned or
Right.
whatever. I think the appointed part, I think that's definitely something that we should look into, and I don't think it would be hard to, we would just do a local law or some kind of code amendment.
So then it would supersede any bylaws or anything? of
Well, that's the other thing is, there's no actual bylaws for the zoning or planning board. There's the Board of Appeals code, and then it refers to the state code, which is how we always kind of figure that one out. But there's no real actual bylaws, so those would have to be established as well. But the city, whatever local law you pass would dictate over that. Because those boards are established by city code, so that's how you kind of do that, so.
So do you think so this would work more or less in an appointed aspect, but it sounds like we're sort of missing a few pieces, like the planning bylaws, zoning bylaws. Is it something where we create a board, call it whatever you want, right? That could sort of review that and potentially maybe an elected absence or attendance
Well,
resolution, you know.
Well, the boards themselves would make their bylaws.
So they would have to.
They would pass their
Okay.
bylaws, the zoning board would pass theirs, the
Mhm.
planning board, et cetera. The elected one, again, it's tough because,
You'd have to create a
basically,
board,
people are electing you into a position, and then you're putting your fellow elected members in a place where they can try and get you out of that spot. So if you gotta be careful about how you do it. So I know I got that stuff you sent me yesterday, I haven't had a chance to look at it, so I just like to look into it a little further.
Okay.
Before we decide how to move forward on the elected part.
But the
appointed
appointed,
part, I don't see-
advise.
The appointed,
want to,
and
I
let
don't
me,
see
let me
any
give you
reason why
my
you can't.
perspective of the appointed
Yeah,
side.
Mhm.
You know, I commanded at many levels in the Air Force. And you as a commander have commander's business that you need to take care of. And every time somebody tries to tell a commander how to do their job, and here are the rules and regulations, and that's all well and good, rules and regulations. But when you start getting into attendance, I think you start whittling away at the committee chairman's or chairwoman's authority to do the job and to understand the job and the role that they're serving in. So this to me is a committee, chairman or chairwoman's business. And I, as an alderman, do not wanna tell them how to do their job.
Yeah, but right now, they don't have a way to remedy it. So if someone doesn't come to planning board for 9 out of 12 months, and we only meet once a month,
Mhm.
and we can't get attendance, then we're not getting things passed. So there needs to be a way for that to be
Hold them
resolved.
But what is the chairman or chairwoman doing?
They don't have, there's no bylaw. There's
Well,
nothing that
but
says-
that's
no,
where,
there's
that's
nothing
where
saying
maybe
that
the
they have to do it.
resolution says that if you have an issue with that, let us help you.
But this is
But,
us
or
helping them.
we get a new chairman or chairwoman to do the job,
Rather than
because this is
hitting,
commander's business.
hitting every chairperson, we can umbrella that with an attendance policy and it holds, I've heard complaints from certain individuals.
I've heard of zero
Well,
complaints.
I'm the one bringing this up, so, and I've heard, you know, well, it's disappointing when so-and-so member doesn't show up every now and then, and so-and-so. I think this does protect and look out in the best interests of chair people, other members
See,
that
and I
volunteer their
think,
time.
the chairman or chairwoman needs to know their job and they lead in that job.
But it
if
doesn't
they
always
can't-
happen.
But then we remove them from the authority that we've given them.
I think this is a
But there's
simple
no,
resolution.
there's no provision for that right now.
Yeah, I
That's
just-
what we're
to
saying,
me,
is that it needs-
This
we need
is a chair's business.
How would this thing with the absences, you know, then you talk about an excused absence, who's gonna jurisdiction
Yeah,
with
who's
that?
gonna-
Well,
Well, they
you
would
would have
charge
to, you would have to
an excuse.
define, you would have to define it, and then they would,
There's a lot,
they would
it
submit.
looks like there's more discussion and work to be done.
I mean, we're talking in some
Sure.
cases volunteers that don't even get paid.
Right,
You know.
but, and even if that's so,
Well, majority
you
get
still
paid,
need
though.
them, you still
No,
need them
no.
there.
No, majority do not get paid.
So we have the planning commission gets paid, right? The
Planning,
zoning,
zoning, that's it.
the board of assessments get
Okay.
paid, so that's three.
That's right.
And then fourth is cable. Cable
No.
gets paid.
No,
I
they
got a
don't.
call a while ago, I swear from,
They don't get paid,
okay. Hang on, let's-
So,
the other
the
thing is-
city cemetery board,
no,
no.
They only meet twice. a
Historic
year.
preservation commission,
no.
One
No.
person gets paid on there,
So,
planning commission, yes.
Yes.
so 3 or 4 of
Plumbing
them
board.
get paid.
so you
Plumbing
wanna,
gets
board.
paid.
No,
No,
I just saw it in the resolution. What are you talking about?
waterfront commission,
No.
no.
So either way,
CBA,
but
yes.
so you wanna
paid or
govern
paid or
all
not,
these
I want
bodies.
people to show up for the things that they're supposed to be volunteering for. This is an easy resolution. How can we not hold people to their volunteer work? It's 12 meetings in a year a lot of times. I think this is a no-brainer.
It's commander's business.
Well, we're the commander of a lot of these organizations too. I mean, Art appoints them, but also we're overseeing the city, right? And we're representing our citizens. And if I'm a citizen, which I am also, you know, at different times,
I mean,
I'm-
how long
I'm
has
paying
all this
taxes
been going on?
that can go towards people's,
I mean, I know
positions
that we
that are-
did have one or two in the past 2 years about somebody not showing up for meetings, but other than that,
Well,
I mean, it's work.
if it's one or two, I mean, it's just,
but still,
it's just the idea
how
of.
many do we need, right? 3,
It's
4,
the
5,
idea-
what is the limit?
It's the idea of, we have planning board once a month.
Right.
If I don't get enough people there to vote on something, then we're having business push off another month. And right now, there's no tool in place for either the council or the chairman to address it. There's nothing. There's no bylaws, there's no attendance policy, there's nothing. And while it's a
Who's the chairman or
While it's a
chairwoman?
volunteer
Well,
basis
they're all different, right?
Well,
And-
no, of that specific one, who's the chairman?
of the planning board,
Yes.
It's,
it's Tom Jacarino right now. He just got voted.
Yeah, 'cause
Cause Dave Kenyon missed 5 months in a row and
Right.
he was the
So
chairman,
I don't,
so he resigned.
and I
But
don't.
otherwise, if he didn't resign,
Yeah.
you can't get,
What?
there's no way to get him off.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. So Dave Kenyon's not here, or he's not here for 5 months, he's the chairman. He thankfully decided to resign. The year before, we had someone miss 9 out of 12 meetings, and there's no way to get them off, they eventually resign. So right now, what I'm saying is, there's no mechanism to get them off. You have to basically talk them into resigning. So whether it's on the recommendation of a chairman, or however you wanna do it, or put in a bylaw to do it, there needs to
Well,
be,
something can be done.
right, is
And
what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
think anyone's saying, we're not gonna do.
I
a
just
resolution. I
think-
think there's a lot of questions, that's all I'm saying.
So what are the
And
questions?
that's fine,
I
and
don't-
we can figure out how it's gonna be worded, and,
Yeah.
you know, obviously it has to be vetted and,
Yeah, if
put
there's
it in a
six,
legal
there's
play.
a process, right? You know, they
Um,
submit something to their chair, cause they're the leader of each group, and then, you know,
but I think for planning and zoning are the two
Yeah,
that
that's
I'm
what it
at.
is.
what if you
that
didn't show up to
monthly
work,
Is a,
right?
is a problem.
If I didn't show up to work,
I
I get
always
fired.
show up to work.
So do I. I haven't missed a council meeting, right? And so, but I just, that's me.
I'm
Stuff,
just-
stuff happens, right? It was a very awkward point to bring it up, Luke, when you
I thought it
weren't
was
there.
directed at me.
No, it was a very awkward point when I didn't know you were gonna be there,
so this isn't being addressed this upcoming Tuesday.
No,
Yeah,
we're just,
wait, to make
it's
sure.
something I think
We
that
have to separate it, number one.
I'm gonna, yeah.
So we can work
We'll
on
work
that
on
like in
it.
the next week or two?
A week or
Okay.
two.
Merry Christmas. I got 2 contracts right now.
Okay. So can I revise it
We'll-
based on the discussion and then we'll look at it again?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
It
it's,
seems
I
like
think
you
it's definitely
need,
worth.
seems like you need to separate them.
Oh, yeah,
Right,
you
yeah,
definitely
that's
do,
what
you
we'll
definitely
do.
do have to separate them.
Can I get
Yeah.
comments from other council people who have questions or concerns, and then we'll address them as such in the
Just, I would
resolution?
suggest Austin just email, will you, as you revise, email it to them.
No, but you have questions though.
Well, you've heard some of my questions was with the.
Can you send it in email so it's just documented and then we can address them in the resolution?
That's what he said, yeah.
Okay, so you'll email them.
So are we,
Bob?
You've already heard what I said.
Well, I'm just saying,
I'm
you
giving
wanna
the
have
chair,
input, right?
the chairman or chairwoman has the authority. If you can address that in this resolution, that they have the authority to remove people, I'm okay with that. But they
Well,
are
that could be
they are in
part of-
charge.
that could be part of the
Chair,
language.
they could be in the process if people have to miss
See
a
now,
day.
see,
But this is the discussion, they could be part of it, if someone is sick for whatever reason, they write something to the chair could be like, okay. You know, I mean, that's part of a process then,
yes,
so
absolutely.
that could be included.
Yeah, so, but
Right.
I think the chair needs to have the ultimate authority.
Well, the mayor has the ultimate authority.
Well, and then the mayor oversees the
Yeah, they
board.
report to the mayor.
It would have to be, I think it would have to be some kind of recommendation.
A recommendation.
Yeah, right,
And then
Right.
the whole elected official thing is
yeah,
separate.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
separate.
that's
I gotta do more,
that's a
I
code,
gotta do more research.
Because that,
That's a whole-
yeah,
that's
I
a
would
charter
definitely wanna
issue.
do more research on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I mean, I think everybody in this room that's the council seat, I don't know, this is going on 6 years, I think I might have missed 4 in 6 years.
One was this year.
Are you keeping tabs on me or?
Am
keeping tabs
Part of
on
my
you?
job, it's part of my job, is, you know, and I don't want
And
it
it
to
was
be.
a family thing.
That's-
okay?
Whatever it was.
Do
I-
you wanna know, would you like me to write an excuse
Well,
to you?
Some,
Yeah, she
some
needs
councils
some
do
Would you
that
like me to
actually,
write
and
you
then
an
they submit it to
excuse?
the chair, which would
What
be
councils do that?
the president.
I would like to know what council does that.
I mean, I could get you, I sent a lot of information, Luke, but. if
And,
you'd like-
and almost every single time, it was a family thing, and family comes
I
before
went,
this.
you went to a play, I know.
I didn't go to a play.
It was a play.
Yes.
So,
Kids.
either way, it's, I don't have kids, so, you know, I guess a little bit more time.
Correct. But 6 years, 4 times,
It's good?
Let's, alright, we're off topic of that. I mean, no one's
So,
saying,
yeah,
no
well-
one's saying there's nothing gonna be done. I just think there's a lot of things that we have to look at. So we'll look at it, get feedback. I think Luke ultimately has to polish it up when we do have our concerns and what he can and can't address and go from there.
Okay. And one,
Polish, right?
What's that?
You're good at polish.
one other thing too, do we have a requirement for one of our boards to get 4 hours of training? Is that in our code?
Both of them do, planning and
Yeah,
zoning.
planning
And
and
they're,
zoning.
they're on top of it, I just
Yeah,
wanna make
yeah,
sure.
Danny's got
They
that.
go
So,
to class.
There's like a class
every
one
year.
trip and there's an
They
online
go to
course.
class, they submit their certificate.
I just wanted to make sure that's,
Yeah.
they're on top of it. Okay, good. Did the dog warden quit?
No.
Someone asked me if it quit, or he quit.
No.
Okay, good. It's like, oh gosh,
Collective dollars.
rumors.
Did, Luke, did you have any feedback on any of those water bills, or? do we-
I did not get a chance to look at those yet, I'll get to them this week.
You got another one too, right, Dan, didn't you
I
send?
did forward another one.
Okay,
Some you got.
there's one more.
If you didn't get it, let me know, it was a separate one.
Alright.
I have a couple items that I'll just briefly touch on. This is gonna be an item that, I'll bring it up tonight, but we won't put it on the council agenda until January, only because it's something for next year. I'm guessing does anyone have any issue with the North Tonawanda City School District, their run, their 5K 1 mile family fun run? Okay. Secondly, Dale Rogers had requested that I bring up, he would like to increase the market stall for part-time, they do half a year, from 175 to 225 a year. These are people that typically run from April 1st to September 30th or October 1st to March 31st. They currently pay 175 per stall, but he would like it to 225 per stall.
What does that money go towards, besides his salary? Or his,
It just goes for
just whatever?
Yeah, market, it's fees.
Did he say that it might be better if we keep the rate the same over the winter because the numbers are down and maybe raise it for the summertime?
He didn't mention it with me, he could
Okay.
have, you know.
I
He
just
he was
mentioned-
suggesting that we cut, a day in the, a day or two in the winter, because of the,
He
See,
did
in that
mention
case, maybe we
Tuesdays.
just keep-
He did
maybe-
mention Tuesday.
Yeah, maybe that, in that case, we just
Tuesdays.
keep the rate the same over the winter months and just increase it for the summer.
Right,
Yeah.
we could cut Tuesdays in the winter.
He was also asking me a question about when we're gonna revise our codes on the marketplace.
What does he not like?
That's
Well,
up
it's
to-
just, it's antiquated.
That's,
yeah.
that's up to, I'm assuming,
Okay,
he's writing the market codes,
He,
at least that's what I heard.
alright,
well, yes, no.
he's got.
He wants new codes because a lot of them go back to 1908.
Yeah.
And they don't apply. Some do, some don't. And he says he's going to write some, we haven't seen them yet. But then he said that he would prefer that the legal office does it.
The last discussion we had when he was here in the workshop was, he was gonna write what he wanted for amendments, bring it in, and then him and Nick were gonna sit down and do it,
Right.
and he never did it.
okay.
So-
Well, now, he's been in this week and.
I'll see him
Well,
later.
I mean, I don't know what he
I'll
wants
tell
changed.
I know.
Yeah, we
I'll
don't
talk
know
to him.
what he has to address, yeah.
I'll see him later.
So do you want to address the yearly, or the half a year,
Yes.
from 175 to 225?
So wait, that's what we wanna do? We're not giving them anything more, it's not like we're improving lights
No, but
or
our
accessibility
fee
or,
rentals are considerably lower than other markets in the area.
but do other markets, I mean, what do other markets provide? What other
Same
market?
thing, Clinton Valley, Niagara Falls,
Are they indoors?
no,
No,
no, they're all outdoors.
They have accessible parking?
I go to them, so I don't know.
Well, we have determined that ours is truly a farmer's market, and we got rid of the Jotsky people from selling. So, we've upscaled it to,
I know he'd like some support too on, there's one or two
Vendors?
vendors in particular that are not compliant with the rules and they're still there and they still get stalls and he he feels that they should not be given a stall, and if they're not in compliant with the law, and the state laws too.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it's his responsibility
Right.
to enforce
Issue-
that.
Well,
Would he be doing that,
You
and
could
Yeah,
deny
if
it.
you wanna
He
cut
can deny,
a
and that's
day?
what he
He
wants
should
to
do
do.
that.
the issue with this particular vendor that the mayor is referring to is, according to state regulations, is if you collect the food stamps, the coupons for farmers market coupons, then you have to grow 50% of the product on your table, you have to grow yourself. The other 50% you can buy it, which a lot of farmers do, they go out and buy product and put it on their table. Well, this gentleman was not growing 50% of his product, and he was accepting coupons. And then he was in turn selling those coupons to another farmer, who was then cashing them in. They both got caught, and the state basically says that you just cease doing it. Since we don't have anything in our regulations about
That's a
what the consequences are, they're currently still at our market. This one farmer ideally he wants to come back. He says he's not gonna collect the coupons anymore. So, which is perfectly fine, but it has to be, obviously someone has to monitor it and make sure he's not collecting the coupons.
he would monitor that,
It would be,
right?
it would be Dale's job or whoever the market clerk was to monitor, make sure not collecting coupons.
He's the market clerk, though, right?
Yes, Dale was the
Okay,
market
so he would do that.
Yes.
Alright.
And my conversation with the state is, if this person has every right, if they wanna participate in the program again, but they need to submit a crop plan. And that crop plan that would then show what they grow at each part of the year, and then if their table would have to reflect. Dale likes the idea of 75%. You grow 75% of your product, and you can participate in the program, which is perfectly legal. If our regulations are more strict than the state's, that's perfectly fine according to the state. If it's 50%, it's 50%. But this person is supposed to submit a crop plan, and the state's fine with them collecting the coupons, and then we'd be fine with them there. But as of this point, this farmer has not submitted any type of crop plan. And I just had a conversation with a lady from the state today, and their last conversation with the farmer is, well, maybe they're not gonna participate in the program. Because they're obviously
Well, that
going.
makes sense.
So is this guy still, or gal, still at the market selling?
Well, no, his portion of the season is done,
Okay,
but this is the time of year where we send out renewals.
right,
Dale does not wanna send a renewal to this gentleman.
And in those
Oh.
renewals, is it gonna have the increase that he wants to put in?
If
Because
the
if you remember
council
last
approves
year,
it, if the council approves it,
He
it'll have
changed
the half
something
year
up and the
225.
farmers were in
I just think
an uproar
if,
about different things.
if the majority agrees to some kind of increase, I think the money should ultimately go to some improvements there, whether that's restriping of parking or some kind of accessibility issues. I mean, I don't see us giving these vendors anything that would in turn require them to pay more. You know, we're just making, it's not like it costs us anything for people to just be
Well, we
there
could be
other
losing
than,
out money.
yeah.
That other places make.
Yeah, but we have a great market,
Well,
and let's not ruin it by,
We're
sort
never
of
gonna-
tightening the grip on some of
We're
these
never gonna
farmers.
lose it. I mean, considerably, we're $300 cheaper than other places.
That's what you're giving them, you're giving them the great market. You're giving them,
Yeah.
you're giving them
So-
people at the
It's
market.
always,
because
always,
We've invested the time to build up that market, and now there's a waiting list to get in there.
I mean, they make
So-
money hand over fist.
So
That's
is
what,
there a
that's what you're
waiting
giving
list?
them.
There is a waiting list,
Yes.
yes.
So, demand then, yeah.
I've asked for before, but can we also get revenue reports, from Dale, either quarterly or
Yeah, it'd probably be
we have?
better if it was quarterly, because pretty much once they paid off, unless it's someone who comes on just like a Saturday, and if there's a spot available where they pay a 1-day fee,
Cause then we can,
most of the money's gonna be in first half of the year.
cause this way, if there is some improvements we can do, we know what revenue we can take from what they're bringing in.
And I would say too, if this sounds like a new issue with the 50% growing and 50% outsourced, if he wants to write up a resolution or code,
But the job itself is becoming more complicated too, because now with this 50% thing and everything, they're asking the market clerks to visit the farms to verify that they're growing 50%.
Yeah, they're required by state, the state's pulling back their people from doing a lot of the investigation, and they would require our market clerk to
go out to
to
each
go
one
out
of
and
the
check the
Each
farms.
farms.
farm, yeah.
Not all of them, not all the time, but go out and check it.
Budget.
Would
Periodically.
it be for violators or
It'd be just a random check.
to violators though?
Well, no,
No,
necessarily
to
just
verify-
Just to
Anyway,
verify that
verify
they're
that
what
they
they're
actually
Is
doing.
that-
growing that product.
Is that a New York State requirement?
Yes.
You said,
Yeah.
so,
That's something new.
and the state isn't helping to
No.
pay
No,
for
I
any of
mean,
that?
if there's an issue, they do some people out, but it's just, I mean, it's more is being required of our market if we wanna participate in these programs.
Well, we wanna provide citizens with the option for the food stamps, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, the
it's-
Clinton
it's-
Valley Farmers Market, which is larger than ours, they require 75%. And theirs is run by, the farmers run that market.
Do we know what the percentage is for all the stands? Cause we don't wanna just do 75 and someone's at 65 and they're like.
No, it'd have to be a set, right now it's currently 50%.
Right,
in our
but
market.
what are the other people, where do they stand? Like, do some people do 55% right now and then 75 would just really put them
There's
over?
a minimal, it's whatever's minimum, 50% is the minimum. But I know what you're saying,
But
it's
I wanna know what other people are doing before we say
without
75%.
knowing each
Yeah.
farm individually, there's no way, I don't even know.
That, so Dale should ask that if we're gonna change that, that's what I'm saying.
Well, Dale's gotta tell us what he wants changed.
Yeah, and why is that gonna work for other people that
I mean,
are near
50%, like I said, is the state minimum, they didn't, 50% is what the state goes by.
Right,
50%.
but he's talking about 75, I don't wanna increase the cost to be there, then increase the requirements for their homegrown vegetables or whatnot, and then people just back out, and then we lose all of our vendors.
There's
That's
always
what I don't want,
a
so I'm just saying, let's get all those facts straightened out, and then we'll.
Number one, we have to find out exactly what he's looking for,
Yeah.
what he wants. Number two, the council's gonna have to sooner or later address the issue as more responsibility goes upon the market clerk about increasing his salary. Because what he makes is almost, you know,
Well,
and if he's gonna have to start visiting farms,
He makes more than we do.
Councilperson.
Yeah, he does.
you know, and do,
I'll do
you know, extra.
Well, no, it's a good point though,
You know.
so that would justify an increase then, right? If he now has to visit farms so we can keep the food stamp option for our community, then we have to pay him a little bit more, so we have to raise the fees a little bit
Well,
more.
that's what the council would have to look at after we find out all this other stuff about what he
Yeah,
feels
but
are
that-
needed in the codes.
Yeah, let's
That
have them
makes
provide
more
that
sense.
to us, so we're not
Yeah.
going through the dark.
It's a little
alley.
random right now. Okay.
And I'll leave this up to you guys also. In regards to dog licensing. Currently, we charge for a spayed or neutered dog to get a license, $7. I would like to increase that to 10. And we charge for a unspayed and unneutered dog, $15. I would like to increase that to 20. And that just, like I said, it just keeps us in line with all other county municipal.
Do they pay it every year?
Once a year.
Okay.
7 to 10 and 15 to 20.
Anybody have a
I don't
problem
have
with
a
that?
problem with that.
That's what everyone else is doing?
That's what, yeah, we're behind the times in that also. Also hardship permits, terrace parking. We don't, it's up to you guys on this one. Currently, we pay $20 a year for one time, and then thereafter, each year, if you renew it, $5. You wanna increase that to anything?
So we don't, okay.
So if they park on their terrace, they pay
They can-
$20.
They have to
They
get
have to-
permission.
They have
Right,
to
Park
get
and then
on their
terrace
$20.
parking permit.
Just $20, that's it, to park on their terrace the entire winter?
And well, it's gotta be approved, it's gotta go through
Gotta
the
go through
traffic safety board,
safety.
approves to make sure that it's a legitimate reason you're parking on your terrace. It can't be
$20.
just because you want to,
And $20.
$20.
And then
And
$5
people
after.
probably park
every year.
there because maybe they have like a business car or something like that. Is that business expense that they can write off?
Well, you can't park, commercial vehicles on the terrace.
Not supposed to.
Well, right,
That's
yeah, you're not supposed to, right?
So if any ideas you wanna increase it, or you wanna increase it,
How much do we make off of it?
right now we have about 30 people.
So $600? So what is your
I
suggested?
don't know, we can do 50 and 25.
So we're going from 20 and 5 a year after that to 50 to 20 a year?
50 one time and 25 a year?
$50, you wanna raise it from 20
It
to
can be
50?
less.
It's such a
I'm
big-
looking for.
You're gonna field those calls.
What's it?
What do other cities do? They allow people to park on the terrace and then they just charge them a fee, or
Yeah,
is that
it's
weird?
it's just standard. Not everyone can park on the terrace. People who don't have curbs can park on the terrace no matter what.
I mean, the first year they have to go out and investigate it. And
Yeah, it gets investigated the first year.
see why they need it and why it needs to be approved, so that's why it's more the first year. After that, they're just
Renewing.
so,
I mean,
that's the cost.
I'll let you guys decide if you want to increase it. You leave the same.
I'm against terrace parking, period.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't really addressed terrace parking, we're just sort of like letting it happen.
It's always been an issue.
I think we should still.
It's a blight.
Parking.
It's a blight on the city.
Yeah, I agree, Bob. I think we should just have alternate parking and work with the DPW plow
Well, that's
schedule.
another issue.
Well, but I mean, it's ugly when people park on there.
Well, then I guess I'll only address the dog licenses, the terrace parking, or these
Think
alone.
about it, yeah.
But it has to be done before January 1st.
Okay.
And along with the dog license, I know there was an issue over on Greenwood Circle. With the person having dogs.
I sent you guys an email in regards to the dog warden's response.
Right. Do you know if, I was just wondering if that ever got resolved, did she go get licenses for those
That I have
dogs?
to check.
Okay,
Secondly, any objections? Our first meeting of the year. The reorg meeting is.
What is their code?
The reorganization meeting is gonna be, we want it on January 2nd. It can be any day that week, 2nd or 3rd, which would be second would be Wednesday, 3rd would be obviously Thursday.
Can we do it Thursday?
You can do it any night, the reorg meeting.
There's a requirement though, right? Like,
Well, technically, the reorg meeting has to be done on the first day of business, so technically it has to be done that Wednesday, the 2nd.
okay.
Do that.
But the normal council meeting, do we wanna have it after the reorg meeting, or do we wanna have that on,
Can we do both?
we can do it on the same night, it doesn't matter.
Can we just do that?
I'm leaving it up to you guys.
You
to
guys wanna
decide.
do it on the both on the same day?
So
I'm okay with that.
reorg and council meeting on the
Okay.
same
Yes,
Why not?
absolutely.
We're already there.
Yeah.
I'll have my tie on,
That's
so.
fine.
you know.
Secondly, we'll go back a week. We currently have no scheduled workshop for the 25th. Do we wanna have one that week? Or do you wanna just go into, have nothing that week?
What does the community want? Who's in the room? Do you guys want us to be
Community
here
doesn't have
that
a vote.
week,
Community
or?
doesn't have a say in this right now, it's you guys.
I really don't, I'd have it on Christmas night, like, I don't care, so.
I'm not gonna go on Christmas night, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I usually go to
Sorry,
the movies.
I'm voting that one down.
Yeah, I guess.
We don't have to,
I
we
guess I'm the
don't
only
have to
team
have a
player
workshop
here.
that night, or that week.
You can have a team, the rest don't wanna do it.
Yeah, I'm a single team here.
But I'm leaving it up to you guys, what do you want, no workshop,
Well,
no
we don't do
workshop?
no
I would-
workshop when we jump.
So we have pressing things we gotta do on that.
Yeah,
I mean, if
There
you're
might-
going, if you're going to the reorg the next week,
yeah, we might have to.
you probably should have a workshop the week before. Like
We can do the 26th or
26th.
27th.
Or the
26th?
27th.
26th,
This is
for Wednesday the 26th.
Boxing loaded.
Boxing Day.
Oh, fine.
So December 26th. Workshop.
Oh, that's Kwanzaa.
It's Kwanzaa, I just brought it up on my phone.
But actually, we could be-
So workshop on the 26th.
Same
Yes.
time. And then reorg will be the 2nd,
and then council.
and council meeting will be the same day.
They all start at 6:30, right?
Yes. Yes.
Well, it'd be 6:15
For the council meeting.
for the council meeting.
Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome.
6:15 for council meeting.
It's, you show up early.
Show up early for the pre-brief.
mayor has something, if you want to.
I am. There's something in my notes. Yeah, I'm done.
Oh, do you want to talk about that first?
Well, it's going on next week's meeting.
Yeah. Dan, you said you received 20 responses from the coloring contest?
And they have to the 14th to submit it.
Till Friday.
Because it's next Monday or next Tuesday.
So you guys will have to work quick. I'm taking your choices.
You have them downstairs? Can I take the ones that are
They're not
from
separated.
Spruce?
Can I submit?
No,
You guys can go through them.
If you're in grade 3, sure.
I like to color out the lines though, so I probably
I
wouldn't.
bet you do.
If you guys wanna go through and pick your choices or pick the ones.
Well, if I could just take the ones that came in from Spruce School,
Like I said, they're
just
all
so I can
big
look.
files.
There's 20 of them, how fast, how hard would it be to go through them
Exactly.
afterwards? The mayor
Yeah,
has
afterwards.
something, if you don't have anything else.
We went, are you? Peanut butter jelly?
Oh, yeah, peanut butter and jelly.
That's for that.
Oh,
The county requested that if we would like to have as a council, donate peanut butter and jelly to their drive, their peanut butter and jelly drive. There's gonna be someone here next Tuesday to collect it. So if anyone here would like to donate, make sure you bring it in for that meeting.
dried fruit, town
You're
food
coming in
pantry.
next
Why is it
week.
peanut butter jelly?
At the next council meeting.
That's what they're requesting.
And that's for the
That's
food
it?
pantry.
I don't know if there's some like quippy thing with that.
Quippy?
Quippy,
What does that mean?
it's just quippy, kinda
I don't
cutesy.
know.
One of these damn new words.
Yeah,
It's just makeup words that generation.
So, yeah.
You understood it.
If we put
Play-
it out to the
I would
public,
hate to play
if
Scrabble with
anybody
you,
comes to the
Austin.
council
Oh, yeah,
meeting,
I would, you'd have to check the book all the time. I'd have my own dictionary.
we've lost.
Mr. Mayor?
This is just, I'm not gonna go into detail because it is getting late. But we were approached by the city of Tonawanda mayor's office. And I'll give you each a copy of this. It's called the Tonawanda Regional Charter. And they're proposing that 3 municipalities, city of Tonawanda, town of Tonawanda, and North Tonawanda, get together for the benefit of funding through grants. I'll just read the mission statement. Basically, each municipality has needs to fund programs and grant ideas that would work well when they connect to each municipality. There's a need to work together to make the region stronger and more connected through the Greenway Trails, the Empire State Trails, and the Empire State Development Fund. The mission statement is to have a regional development plan that works in conjunction with all 3 municipalities, LWRP and comprehensive plans. The 3 municipalities will work together on ensuring that seamless and cohesive plans are formed and implemented. And I'll give you this so you can look at it. I'm not gonna read the whole thing tonight, but it's a proposal for the 3 Tonawandas to work together for the benefit of the, I guess I wanna take a more regional approach for the grant, applying for grant funding, because the state is pushing regionalism. And this might be a way to have our whole area maintain or get grants a lot easier. Work together. And so we met with the mayor, Dan DiVirgilio, and I yesterday met with
Take notes.
Chuck Gilbert.
He took control.
Yeah, and because Mayor Davis was unable to be there for this. But anyway, I will give you this to look at, and it's a very, very general thing. It's just a rough draft to start something going here. And they'd like to get our reaction to it. And I think.
Who wrote it? Did Tonawanda write it, or did
Tonawanda.
Tonawanda did? Okay,
And also, I'll give you a copy of email we got this morning, and I guess basically to dispel a couple rumors about what they were thinking also. They start out by saying the city of Tonawanda never discussed closing the Renaissance Bridge. So whenever we heard that about Tonawanda saying they want to close a bridge, they're claiming that's not true. But anyway, let me pass it out, and, you can have your copies and look at this for future discussion.
You didn't delete it, did you?
It's all, an initial thing,
Go back to it.
and, there's some things, that they're trying to point out that when the three municipalities don't work together, there's a much bigger risk that the state granting agencies, will look less desirably upon the area. So the whole thing is to bring everything together in a more regional approach to things. This is just, they said, very, very initial, very, very draft, simple draft, and they would like our comments and feedbacks. So if you have anything, you can give it to me, I'll see to it that they get it, or if you want to email them directly, you can, but,
Yeah, share this with Mike Zimmerman.
sure, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Mike Zimmerman definitely will be apprised of this, if he isn't already. So, that's all for tonight on that.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Awesome. Anybody else have anything?
Thank you.
Dan, do you have anything else?
I have nothing else.
Don? Don?
No.
Mm-mm.
Luke, are you good?
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
To you.